Am I the a-hole for saying no to picking up my son's half-sister from school? I am a single mom of 2 boys ages 11 and 10. Their father and I divorced 5 years ago after I learned he was cheating on me. He got her pregnant, either right before he told me and that was why he confessed, or right after. But our divorce was not an easy one. He wanted to stay friends when I could not even look at him after what he did. He and I were together for over 13 years. He was also a friend before he was my boyfriend/husband, and to have him betrayed me like that and treat me as he had was awful. He married his affair partner. They had a daughter within months of our separation, followed by a son after the divorce/their marriage. Last year, they lost a baby, which led to the discovery that his wife had cancer. What followed was a lot of fighting between the two of us again. He wanted me to help him and his wife out. He said their children, who are currently 5 and 3, needed family beyond just him and his wife. His own family disowned him for our divorce as they were extremely religious and she has no family. I told him it would be over my dead body I would help him. He argued that it was for the children, and if not for his kids with her, then for our boys, who could see their family heal and be one. I told him he stopped any chance of that happening when he cheated on me. What I did not expect was for him to tell his daughter's school to call me when she got sick. He was at work at a time and couldn't leave apparently because he had already missed a lot of work due to his wife, and she was home recovering from chemo. I got a call, was asked if I would pick her up, and I said no. Several hours later, I got reamed on the phone by him for leaving a sick child at school when I knew they had nobody. This is when he told me how he couldn't leave and how his wife was resting. I told him the babysitter for his son should have been called over me. He told me he was in daycare and that I should be ashamed because she was a sick child who was going through a lot, and I could have helped. He told me he hoped our sons are going to be ashamed of me. They aren't, and I argued back with him over the phone at a time. But I guess part of me does feel bad for the child. My sons also sensed an atmosphere while they were with their dad after the incident when they talked about me, and I hate that for them. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. He has the nerve to try to manipulate you after cheating? Those aren't your kids and not your problem. I also feel bad for the girl, but it's his mess to solve. Give an inch, he'll take a mile. Say no now to prevent future problems. That is my concern. I do not want to be part of those 2 children's lives in any big way. And if I say yes to one thing, then it gets harder to say no again. And that establishes more of a relationship than I ever want with them. Your ex is trying to use your basic decency to manipulate you. No responsible parent puts down an emergency contact without getting confirmation by the contact. This is all on him. As sad and unfortunate a situation as it is for his children, you have the right to refuse to be their carer. He put his daughter in this position, not you. He is to blame for any discomfort she may have experienced. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. He is lining you up to be a mom to their kids after his wife dies. His behavior is disgusting. Stick to your guns. Oh yes, just wait until he wants you to take all the kids during your custody time. Draw a firm line in the sand now. Yes, this. There was a post on here of a man that cheated on his wife, divorced her, and when the affair partner and mother of his other child died, he insisted on the poster, his ex-wife, let the daughter call her mom. He even sent that OP videos of the little girl crying for her mommy. Not the a-hole. What kind of fool lists his ex-wife as emergency contact for his affair child? The audacity of him to get mad at you. The only children of his you need to care for are the ones you share with him. Do not let him tell you otherwise. Too bad he tanked his own life, but that's not your problem at all. If he can't handle the situation he got himself into, he needs to figure out a way to get himself through it. You're not responsible for his mistakes. While it's unfortunate his wife has cancer, you're still not obligated to help him at all with anything, except as related to your children. He can apologize and make amends with family or go out and make friends and get support that way. It's not your job. The type of a-hole who assumes that once the affair partner, current wife, passes or is placed in some form of care, expects his ex to take him back and go back to playing happy family. He's basically trying to get OP lined up as the new mommy to his kids with his affair partner once the affair partner is no longer in the picture. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom and sister to pay our bills if they agree my wife should be able to be a stay-at-home? My 28 male, wife 31 female, has recently started to express interest in being a stay-at-home wife to prep for being a stay-at-home mom. We don't have kids and haven't been trying. And before getting married, we talked about kids and work/home arrangement. And we agreed that we'd both work prior to and once we had kids, and agreed we'd take turns with the stay-at-home portion for the first year or two after potential kids were born, then both back to work. Now she wants to do away with that. It wants to be a stay-at-home wife until we have kids and then be a stay-at-home mom. I never want that. I never wanted that. And I made that clear from the start when we got serious. I enjoy my job a lot, but my salary can't sustain a family. And I don't want to go back to school and change careers like she wants me to make it happen. I don't want to take up a second job either, knowing I'd still be doing half the housework and childcare. Not that that's a bad thing. Whereas both my mom and her parents are local, she'd have plenty of help during the day and able to get downtime. We had dinner at my mother's a couple days ago with my sister and her kids. While we were there, my wife goes, "Your son's being mean. He won't let me be a stay-at-home mom." First, my family took this as she's pregnant and got excited. So I had to tell them that wasn't it, that she just wants to be a stay-at-home. It turned into this 3-on-1 conversation about how I should let her stay at home if that's what she really wants, and I should be taking care of her and finding a way to make this happen for her. Finally, I go, "Would you two help her with the house whenever she needs it?" Of course. That's what family's for, especially when you start having kids will help. Cool. Keep that same energy and help me pay all our bills and every other expense to upkeep our current quality of life, if you feel so strongly that she should get to stay home. They did not like that and told me I was being overdramatic. My mom called me stubborn and told me to find corners to cut to afford everything on my salary and drop things like streaming services, some of my hobbies, go from 2 cars to 1, etc. We left and my wife wasn't too happy on the way home. She says I was out of line for saying that to my mom and sister, especially since she thinks I was serious. Was I wrong for telling my mom and sister to pay our bills if they wanted me to go along with it? Not today, Hall, because you didn't bring it up to them. Your wife did. She was being manipulative and you called her on it. Be careful. I could see an, "Oops, we're pregnant. Now we have to stay home" moment coming. Haha, glad it wasn't just me seeing it. Not the a-hole. I've been here and the divorce will be horrible once you have children. Get out now. She's shown her true colors. This is the warning sign. Seriously, divorce this woman. Not the a-hole. Or at least get a vasectomy. I agree. End this now. Being stay-at-home used to mean all husbands needed to do at home was mow the lawn, shovel snow, and take cars in for service. If her expectation is you will be doing half the housework and childcare when at home, don't come at me. I believe in involved parents of all genders, just making a point here. Plus working 2 jobs, or going to school while working to get a higher salary job you don't even want. When the agreement was you would take turns being stay-at-home after kids, that would be a big nope for me. I found out after I was with someone for almost 2 years that he expected me to quit work, be a stay-at-home mom, plus have way more kids than I could mentally and physically handle. If you can do that, great, but it would have both broken me and been unfair to the kids. I thought he loved me for who I was, but it turned out he expected marriage to magically transform me. Not the a-hole. Good luck, Opie. Take care of you. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister to stop coming to me to complain about what my husband says to her? My female 31 sister, female 35, Claire, has struggled with her inability to have kids for years. She gets all kinds of questions from people about when she'll have kids, but somehow she focuses on what my husband says about the topic and complains about how he constantly makes backhanded comments about her inability to have kids. She once claimed he told her women in their 30s plus have lesser chances to bear children. Or that one time she claimed he mocked her infertility by calling her garden barren, just like her. I admit that my husband is the type to dish it out, but her complaining seemed excessive because she never liked him anyway. Last week, we got together for dinner at my parents' house. My sister came downstairs later while my mom and I were in the kitchen and told me that my husband suggested she backs out of her IVF treatment and find a better use for the money when she announced wanting to try IVF. She went on about how insensitive and hurtful his words were. I felt upset that I told her she was right to be mad, but she needed to stop coming to me complaining about him as if he was my son, and try to speak to him instead. She snapped at me saying she'll already talk to him, but since he's my husband and I brought him into the family, then I should be the one to handle him. I told her her reasoning didn't make any sense, but she called me selfish and cruel just like him. It got so overwhelming when my mom sided with her, even going as far as to say I was enabling him. I left and went home. My husband said my sister is just being too sensitive because he was just giving his honest opinion when she brought up the IVF, and said that if she has an issue with him, he should tell him to his face. He also said that she's probably looking for an excuse to pick an argument with me, and that I was innocent and had nothing to do with this despite her trying to involve me. Neither she nor my parents are speaking to me as of now. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. You're the a-hole. Tell your husband to keep his mouth shut. My husband is the type to dish it out. No. Your husband is the a-hole that thinks it's appropriate to comment on your sister's body and reproductive issues. What an awful inconsiderate man you married, and you don't seem too far behind him. He is also the type to believe his opinion is relevant and that other people care to hear it. Hopefully someone clarifies to him that this is not the case, and since he is neither the sister's financial planner nor fertility doctor, he should sit back down. This right here. It's one thing, to be honest, if someone asks for your opinion. It's an entirely different thing to offer your opinion when it's neither wanted nor needed. My uncle is like this. If he's read a book or heard a podcast, he's an expert. Even if it's my field of study with advanced degrees in peer-reviewed publications. I'll never forget the look on his face when I said, well, that's a common misconception among people who only have a superficial understanding of the issue. If you want to dig deeper, I can send you some articles. My father kept it together but then left all the way home in the car because it had been years since someone stunned his younger brother like that. You're the a-hole. Fertility issues are incredibly personal, and your husband has absolutely no place dishing it out, as you call it, over something so personal and sensitive. And yes, she is sensitive. It's a sensitive topic, and you should be absolutely ashamed of your husband's abhorrent behavior. He is being a cruel, vindictive bully who needs to learn that every little thought that passes through his bully brain doesn't need to come out of his mouth. Furthermore, him specifically targeting your sister says he actually wants to be cruel and hurtful to her, and you enable him. Oh, don't come to me about his behavior. Why shouldn't she? You married the oaf. He's your responsibility. Or are you just happy that when your sister is around, he's not being a cruel, vindictive idiot to you? Could also be that it's the kind of crap Opie wants to say herself, but she knows that their family will be a lot less tolerant of that nonsense coming from her than her husband. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for saying my sister-in-law is not my nephew and niece's mom? We have some background here. My sister-in-law is my brother's second wife, and she's the stepmother to his 3 kids ages 17, 15, and 14. My brother, Sam, lost his first wife when the kids were very small and remarried quickly, in part because he did not want to be alone, and also because he did not want his kids to grow up without a mom. They have been married for 10 years now, and the 3 kids in question do not call sister-in-law mom. They do not want anyone else to call her their mom either. She is the mother to my 2 nephews with my brother, but the discussion in question is regarding the older 3. My brother and sister-in-law went to therapy with the kids out of concern that children so young were so resistant to calling a new mother figure mom, someone who loved them and was genuinely there wanting the best for them. They ended up blaming their maternal family for the lack of title for sister-in-law and attempted to cut them out of the children's lives when the maternal family refused to tell the kids they wanted them to call sister-in-law mom because she was mom now. The courts were brought in, and that put a stop to removing contact. Over the years, the kids have been corrected many times. There have also been many punishments given out because the kids rebel against sister-in-law and have said things to hurt her. It's basically one big fight at their house. The rest of my family are kind of mixed in all this, and some feel like Sam and sister-in-law are wrong to push, but others believe something is amiss because the kids have not mellowed out towards sister-in-law at all and still refuse to have anyone speak about her as their mom. I think they also believe their maternal side of the family are to blame and that they believe they are wrong for not encouraging it. I have spoken to my nephew and nieces, so I know their mom's family have never said anything. What they do is talk about their mom and share her memory with them, and it's led to a connection forming through the maternal family. I think it's unfair to keep pushing them to call sister-in-law mom, and I think a focus should have been put on giving them a happy home life versus pushing for something the kids have expressed they do not want. A few days ago, Sam and sister-in-law were talking to our family about the kids going back to school and how my 14-year-old niece corrected the school admin who referred to sister-in-law as her mom. Sister-in-law talked about how upset she was and how she doesn't understand how the kids can still be so wrong on this. Sam even said he wanted to pull his hair out. I suggested, and not for the first time, that they should come to terms with the reality of things. Sam replied the reality is sister-in-law is their mom and has been for 10 years. I told them the reality is sister-in-law is not their mom. She's their stepmother, and you can't force feelings on that to change. I am now considered the a-hole. They said I only hurt sister-in-law more and rubbed her face into rejection by saying it. Am I the a-hole? I read stories like this and think, how do these people not realize that by focusing on the title and trying to force a relationship which erases the deceased parent, they are nuking any chance of forming a good, loving step-parent relationship? Not the a-hole. I'm glad that these kids have someone on their dad's side of the family who understands. Your brother and his wife may be surprised in a few years when you have a better relationship with these 3 young adults than they do. I think sometimes people forget that kids, while young and not always knowing the best, are people with their own thoughts and feelings. Sometimes people see kids as people who can be totally molded, including their own feelings, but just like adults, those can be hard to develop towards certain people for a variety of reasons. And trying to force something before they're ready will cause them to dig in their heels, much as it would for an adult. Had they not insisted upon it so early and so aggressively, and instead allowed the kids time to develop a maternal bond, it might have happened naturally. Making it a point of contention cemented her position as stepmom in their hearts and minds forever.